Hi, everybody. My name's Miri Camphausen. I'm from Germany and I live in Australia, and I've written this book. It's called Heroes of the Quest, an Impossible Team. And it's for children, but not really only. It's for us, the adults too, because we all have a magical child inside. And what I really want for everybody is to be felt that they matter. We matter. Everybody matters. Our children matter. We matter. We matter just the way we are. I want children to feel that they count, that they're important, that they're seen and heard. And this is why I've written this book, because I know what it feels like. And I think we all do when we don't feel heard. So check it out. Check out my website. Check out the book. It's available on all the major online bookstores. Get in touch with me, and I'm happy to chat to you and bring reading back into this world and the magic back into our world. Thanks a lot. This is really even closer to my heart, probably. And this is where I am being very vulnerable. So if you want to check out my website, and if you personally feel like you don't belong into this world, if you feel you don't fit, if you feel everything is going wrong and feels wrong for you, I have shared my personal story on my website for you, so that you can feel that you're not alone if you want to read about this. So the link will be in the comments. But what I would love you to know is that there's always a choice and a different door that can open. And I've been in some pretty dark spaces with depression and mental health and physical health issues, like everything, you know? And it's been tough. It's really been tough. But I think what rescued me really and carried me through was my writing. I did a lot of journaling in that time, and lots of journaling and also other writing, but mainly journaling. So for me, the writing was really my lifesaver. So whatever it is that you can do that helps you connect to yourself and to your inner heart, and to open that door again to your magic, because I think that's what we're lacking. And this is why we get lost in some other space that's not really us. Whatever you can do to connect with your inner self again, it may be gardening, cooking, baking, I don't know, whatever it is, go to that space. Go and find yourself again, create silence. And there's always help. There's always help available to each one of us, right?
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Living the Next Chapter. At the beginning of the episode, you heard an amazing voice from my guest introducing her book and all the great things going on. So happy to have my guest on today from the other side of the world, from where I am. Welcome, Miri, to the podcast. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Dave.
This is fun. And we chatted in a pre-chat a little while ago. We talked about inviting someone else to this podcast to be part of our conversation. Who are we inviting today to join us here on the show?
Okay. Hallo an alle unsere deutschen Zuhörer und willkommen. Ich bin nämlich aus Deutschland und mein Buch ist auch auf Deutsch erschienen bei Tradition. Und das heißt Die Heldenschar, ein unmögliches Team. Viel Spaß beim Lesen. Okay, a quick translation maybe for anybody who doesn't speak German. So I just said welcome to all our German listeners, and I'm really excited to have them. And my book is actually available in German as well. And the name is Die Heldenschar, which basically translates to Heroes of the Quest, an Impossible Team. And well, I hope they have fun reading it.
Amazing. See, so everyone now in Germany is like, I'm going to rewind that. I'm going to listen to that again, because I wasn't expecting to hear such amazing, my home country being spoken, my language. I love it. I love it. Was there anyone else that we were going to welcome today?
Oh, I think anybody, all of our listeners
Mhm.
who want to rediscover their magic inside. And I think we all could do with a bit more magic in our lives. So at least that applies to me. I'm not sure what about you, Dave, but I think we need more magic on this planet, and it's there. We just have forgotten how to open the door. When you think back of when you were a child and you were in that flow, in that magical flow, in that magical world, and it just felt good. It just felt good to be in that space, and then we grow up and we lose it. We lose the access. I think the magic is still there, but we need to, or that's my wish for you, all the listeners, to really find that key again, to open the door, to go back into that magical world. And that's what I wish for you, dear listener, and for your children to discover together, because children have so much to teach us about that.
Right. And I think as we become adults and we have the pressures of life and all the things that we add, some of that magic and curiosity of being a child fades away and is replaced by stress and responsibility and all of that. If we could reclaim some of that, I think when you have children and you have small children in the house, as a parent, you get to kind of relive a little bit of your childhood, because now you can do the children's books. You can have those conversations. You can play when you're an adult, right? But then as your children get older, you stop playing and the magic starts to fade away again. So I love that your book is not just for children, but it's also for adults. So we can all reconnect with that magic again. I love that.
Yeah. And also because I'm a mother, and I have 3 children. So, and I love reading books out to them. And I really love the books that I could read again and again and again and again without getting bored, So I wrote that book also with that in my mind, that you, as the adult reading it to your child, would get joy out of it, out of the words and the characters and the little hidden hints that are in there, So.
Nice. So, okay, I need to know this. How does your children respond to having your book read to them? Is that like a unique opportunity for you to read to your own children from your own book? That must be beautiful.
Yes, it is. It's great. And it's really exciting. And then sometimes, because I'm working on the next ones in the series, so sometimes I pull out a few pages and I say, oh, just listen to this. This is so good, and then I just make them sit down and say, okay, you have to listen now. And sometimes, because the book is actually also quite humorous, sometimes I need to laugh so hard myself that it's hard to stay on track with the reading, with the actual reading. But yeah, it's lovely. It's amazing.
So that's got to be fun for your kids. That's a memory that your children are going to grow up with. When my parent was an author and writing and reading to me, and I was a part of the journey, and then seeing the book on the shelf or seeing someone enjoying your parents' book that they wrote, that's going to be a great memory for your children to grow up with as well. And that's going to, I would think, inspire them to continue reading or maybe even writing as adults themselves. You're setting a great example for them.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yes, true. And what I also think is really important, and that again, addressing our audience, our listeners, because I always wanted to write and create a book when I was a child. That was part of my dream. And I do believe everybody of us carries within a dream, like this really precious gemstone, like shiny, bright dream. And then, when we close the magic door, we forget about it, or we think it's not okay to have that dream. But maybe you can take some time to reconnect with it, because that is what lights you up from the inside. This is where your passion sits. And then this is like a key to open that magical kingdom again, So I would love to encourage everybody listening to go back to that place and just think about that dream again. And maybe there's a chance for it, you know. Well, I believe there's a chance for every dream, but maybe you don't believe it yet. But if you're listening to this now, go for it. I believe in you. I totally do.
Talk a little bit about how important it is to read to your children. I'd love to kind of explore that a little bit from your point of view as an author as well.
Oh, yes. Reading to your children. Honestly, I think thinking back, because my children are, like my oldest one is 16 now, so that time has passed a little bit. But this is one of my fondest memories. Just sitting with them, cuddling together on the couch. It's such a special bonding time, holding them in my arms, reading their favorite story or my favorite story, and sitting together, maybe a cup of tea or hot chocolate, you know, whatever it is, to just create this very special, nurturing, comfortable atmosphere. It's awesome. So creating the bond, but then also helping the children and myself to enter that magical world again, to foster their imagination, to help them develop skills, because children learn through stories, right? They don't learn through A, B, C, D, but they learn through stories. So whatever is held in the story, they really live with it. They take it on. They understand. It helps them to understand the world. And just imagine when you're born, you know, you drop onto this planet and you have no idea. So stories really help you make sense of what is happening around you. I think it's so important.
And that's a really bonding moment as a parent and child as well. And in the busyness of life, those bonding moments become fewer and fewer, and your children get older and older, and that window starts to close, right? So take every advantage now when your children are small to build that relationship, because that will be like a foundation for your family going forward, right?
Yes, totally. And you will always be able to refer back to that, you know, when times get tough later, and they will. I mean, being a parent, I think it's the most important and also the most difficult job on this planet, my personal opinion. So if you can also create that space so that you can later relate back to that, you know, when times get a bit rougher, I think that's amazing. That will help you and your child.
So, okay, how about any tips for a listener that wants to write children's books from your perspective, to them directly, from you to them? How do you approach writing a children's book? How do you get into the space where the book is exciting for you to write because you know it'll be exciting for your reader to read? How do you connect with that part of you to create a great children's book?
I feel that part of me sits within, right? So I need to have a quiet space, a space where I feel comfortable, like create for myself again a nurturing container. And then I sit down and I take a few deep breaths to focus within. That's like that step I never skip, because it's really important to connect to that creative space within me, because I think we all have that. We all carry that. And for some people it may be writing, for others it's baking, creating, painting, you know. So for me it's the writing. Connect to that space within, and then I feel the words come through me. So it's probably not the approach that you would teach at university. I'm not sure, where you have to create a plot and all of that. But for me, it's really about feeling the characters come alive. And then I just trust what comes through, and I write that down without judgment. I just write it down.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I go back to it later, you know, and look at it and see, okay, what part of that can I use? Where do I need to tweak a little bit? What do I need to shift around? But I really connect to that flow and trust that the words and the story that wants to come through is the perfect one.
One thing I find unique about children's books compared to, say, nonfiction or a fiction book or a business book, coaching book, is the connection between you as the author and your illustrator. Because it's one thing to write some words. It's another thing for somebody to take those words and give it life through images and drawings and bring that piece of it together. So you're working alongside someone else who brings your words to life. Can you talk a little bit about finding someone who gets what you're doing and can interpret it and present it for your book? And how important is it to find a good illustrator for a children's book?
I think it's super important. And not just the illustrator, but all the people you work with. You know, it's the editor and the person who creates the book cover. And my book is also available as audiobook. So the person who narrated the book, that was a professional actor. All of these people are totally important. And I fully agree, they need to get it. So they need to get the idea and the energy of the book. So I believe every book or every work carries a certain energy. And when these people connect with that, they will feel what the book is about, what it's like, and what the story is. And that's what happened with the illustrator. She's actually a friend of mine, so that was handy. And I didn't give her any instructions on this is what I want this to be like.
Wow.
Because she sat with this text, and same as I did, with feeling within, you know, so what is this story about? She felt within herself the images of the book, and then from that space she painted, and they were perfect, you know, like brilliant. And this is an approach, and I think it all has to do with this magical door and that magical kingdom that exists. You know, when you allow yourself to step into that flow, you will find the answers, and you will be able to connect to that part of you.
Okay, you mentioned as well the audio portion of your book. I've asked many authors that have come on the show if they've done an audiobook, and some of them are thinking about it. Why was it important for you to have an audio version of your book?
Because I love listening to a story that's well written with the perfect words that feel right for me, and then with a professional voice. We listen to a lot of audiobooks at home, you know, especially during the pandemic, when we couldn't really do anything, and we sat at home and we listened to many audiobooks, and they're brilliant actors in there, you know, that really transport the energy of the different characters. And it was a great process and so much fun to give permission to somebody else, you know, to create a voice, because it's essentially somebody else taking my idea or my story and developing it further. You know, same happened with the illustrator. She took that, what I gave her, and she added to it, you know, she made it more beautiful, and so the whole story just grew, you know, and it got more empowered. And I think it's just fun. It's just so much fun listening to a great audiobook. They're amazing. Now, one thing I have a question about is, as an author approaching this book, how much of you is beneath these covers? How much of you is baked into the story? Is there everything?
Everything is all, okay. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit? Because that's interesting.
Yeah, look, well, the story is about 4 very different animals, right? And they go on this quest, and they need to fulfill this quest, this mission, this purpose, to get their diploma, to graduate from quest school, to become a professional quester, right? So this is what their goal is. They have a goal, they want to graduate, and this is what they have to do to reach that goal, which applies, I guess, to every single human being probably on this planet, right? You have a goal, and these are the steps. And then something gets in the way, and that's usually ourselves. We get in our own way, right? So every single one of these characters shows up with a flaw or a vulnerability. Let's call it vulnerability, right? So, for example, the giraffe cannot read and needs to overcome that weakness or that feeling of weakness, actually, to be able to participate in the quest and to get to her goal. And I think every listener probably can also relate to that. When you feel within, there's always something where you feel, I'm not good at that. I can't do this, like I just can't. I don't have the skills or the ability. And children feel that a lot too, by the way. So this is part of me, looking at my own skill sets and seeing, I do believe I cannot do this very well. But then another solution opens up, which is asking for help and getting help and accepting help from others, So this is what happens in the book. The giraffe gets help from all of the other animals. And I think this is the concept that we all also can totally benefit from, because we all have skill sets and we all have things that we are not very good at. But when we chip it in and we all work together, we can achieve so much more. And each of these characters, have a little flaw, and I carry all of them, Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So the characters in your story work together to help each other in the areas that they're lacking, where they need help.
Yes.
Right? So they all kind of work together as a team.
Yes.
So that's a great example for us as well as parents, for kids, as well as, instead of thinking that you're better because you're gifted in one area, you might be lacking in some area that you need help, right? So we're all working together. Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, that is kind of the idea, but also, and that goes back to what I said in the beginning, everybody matters with their own skill set,
right.
And every child matters. And I want the children to be seen and heard and accepted. There's just the way they are. And they might not be super sportive, or they might not be a great painter, or they might struggle with math. There's always an area every single one of us struggles with, which is normal. But I feel, at least in my life, it was hard for me growing up to accept that I personally struggled with certain issues, and to allow myself to see that and to talk about that, to be open about that. Look, I struggle with this one. And it makes life so much easier, because it also allows others to come in and say, oh, cool, yeah, we help each other, because I think we are wired for helping each other. All human beings are. It makes our life so much easier and nicer and better when we help each other and are open about it,
Yeah, because I love looking at the cover and seeing a giraffe and a little tiny mouse. Like, talk about opposites, right? You think that those two probably would not hang out on the weekend together. There's our two
probably
different
not.
Things. And the other thing I like about that's just the visual. When I first saw the book, I'm thinking about two different perspectives. The mouse is going to see things that the giraffe can't. The giraffe can see things that the mouse can't. Right?
Totally.
So that's my first reaction when I saw that. I'm like, I love that. I love it. So tell me a little bit about the feedback that you've had about the book. What have you heard back from the readers?
They love it. They love it. And the children really love it. So I think it's a book that really speaks to children and to the children's hearts, So yeah. And I've asked my children, for example, what is your favorite character? And it was hard for them to pick, because these four animals are so different, and they all have very different traits. So yeah, I think there's something in there for everybody.
How important is it for you to hear feedback from your readers?
Super important. Super important. Yes. So if you're listening now and are you going to read the book, send me a message via my website and let's be in touch. I really would love to hear what you think. Absolutely.
Because I'm on your Amazon page right now, and I'm seeing a 5-star review from Renata. And here's what she says. So for everyone listening, this book is a hilarious and entertaining story. Master Mouse is a hilarious and entertaining story. This is the one we're talking about here. Aimed at children. I have read and enjoyed this book myself, along with my 10-year-old daughter. Beneath the exquisite illustrations, I love this, and funny, often poignant mishaps, I found myself identifying with the characters. I resonated with the theme of personal confidence and the front we put to the world, both in what we look like and what we dare or dare not do. All of this is explored through the funny, unique characters in this book. I go back again and again and find different messages around teamwork and failure and all the messiness of life and life's lessons. This is a wonderful book, and I really hope we get to read more about Master Mouse and the rest of the team again soon.
Thank you.
How does that feel to hear that kind of feedback? That's well written, by the way.
Yeah, feels great. Feels great. And it really, this is how I feel about my book. You know, I really love this book. I really do. I think it's a great book. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And it brings joy to people and to the children and the parents. So I really love the story.
So, okay, you talked a little bit earlier about the next thing that's coming. What I can't imagine you just writing, and that's why we call this Living the Next Chapter. I can't imagine just writing one book, you're done, and then you move on to something different in your life. This has got to lead to something next. Can you talk about what's coming for you as the author?
Yes. So, well, no spoiler alert,
yes.
but these
whatever you're legally allowed to say, let's put it that
way.
Yeah.
The team of these 4 animals, they continue to work together, and they start going onto different quests or missions, you know. So and each quest is a new book. So I've written number 2 and number 3, and I'm currently writing number 4.
Wow.
Yeah, not published yet. We're still far away from because there's a lot in between to do. But the drafts are there, and they're getting better and better. It's a lot of fun. It's just super enjoyable. Yeah, I love it.
So okay, take me back in time before you had the book, and now you're working on book number 4, which is awesome. I love this. What has changed about you as an author from the time you started book 1 to book 4? Because I'm thinking for the authors listening, is they see themselves one way, but as you write and as you begin to build your craft and learn how to write, you start to change a little bit as an author. What's the difference that you see between book 1 and book 4 for you?
Well, I think there's 2 major ways of looking at that. One way is, how do I approach my day, you know? So when I wrote book number 1, I was in a very strict routine of sitting down every day and making myself write, you know? And on some days that worked really well. On other days, it just didn't, you know? And now, today, 3-4 books later, I look at that like, okay, I sit down and I feel within, can I write? Do I have the inspiration today? Yes or no? And if I don't, then I don't sit down, because I've noticed that whatever I force myself to write, I can scrape out again straight away, delete, you know, because it just doesn't carry the same weight, the same magic, the same flow. It just doesn't. So on these days, I stop and do something else and then try again the next day. So that's one thing of how I approach my writing. And I think then the next part, and that is something that I I personally tremendously enjoy, because there's little tiny jokes in the books, you know. So in book 4, I can refer back to the joke in book
Nice.
1, and I can just keep building on it, you know. So the jokes and the humor starts building, and so you really, when you read 1, 2, 3, 4, and you read them like as a sequence, you can really feel into the growth and the development of the characters. And I just
Nice.
love that bit. It's a lot of fun. It's just fun to watch, you know, to see my characters grow and develop, because they obviously do as well, you know. So that's cool. I love that part.
Because it's nice that you're kind of hiding. Well, when we're recording this is Easter weekend here, but you're hiding little Easter eggs, little secrets, little things for your reader, and you're like, oh, as an author, you can't wait for them to get to this part of the book, because
Yes.
something's gonna pop out at them in the story, and
Yes.
they'll be like, I can't wait for you to read this part, right? So that's got to be
Yes,
fun too.
totally. Yes. Mm.
That's got to be really cool. That for me, if I was writing a book, that would be the thing. I'd be like, I can't wait for you to get to page 7,
Yes,
because on page 7,
absolutely.
it's going to just, wow, it's going to change what you're thinking. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because you're kind of hiding these little things. I love that. For for somebody who's thinking about writing and they're a little bit nervous, they're thinking, who's going to read my book? Who's going to care about what I have to say as an author? I'm a new author. I'm nervous about putting myself out there. I'm nervous about a negative review or not being received the way I hoped. What kind of encouragement would you have for a new author that's they have an amazing story to say, a great story to tell? They're just a little nervous. How would you encourage them?
First, I hear you. I hear you. I totally know where you're at. I get it. And I think that's something, um, I'm not sure if all of us, but most of us struggle with, you know, because finding your voice and taking something from your soul and from your heart and putting it out there into the world, that's scary. That's super, super scary. So I would love to encourage you to be brave enough to follow what your heart is telling you to do, no matter what the outside world thinks. Because when there's a story in you that wants to come out, you are the one who has to birth it. There is nobody else, no second person on this planet who can write that particular story. This is your story, and the world needs it. So trust yourself. Just trust yourself. Keep going. Listen to your heart.
So, talking to you when we had our pre-interview chat and now today, I'm just getting this overwhelming sense from you that you're coming from a positive place, you're coming from a healthy place, you found your spot, and it feels like things are going well. But looking at your website, when you send me all the links to check out all the information for today, you talk in your website about a time when things weren't quite as positive, weren't quite as healthy for you mentally, and how things have changed for you. Can you give us a little bit of insight? Because I think there might be somebody listening today that needs to hear your personal story, and that might encourage them in their journey.
Yes. So I've this this is really even closer to my heart, probably. And this is where I am being very vulnerable. So if you want to check out my website, and if you personally feel like you don't belong into this world, if you feel you don't fit, if you feel everything is going wrong and feels wrong for you, I have shared my personal story on my website for you, so that you can feel that you're not alone if you want to read about this. So the link will be in the comments. But what I would love you to know is that there's always a choice and a different door that can open. And I've been in some pretty dark spaces with depression and mental health and physical health issues, like everything, you know? And it's been tough. It's really been tough. but I think what rescued me really and carried me through was my writing. I did a lot of journaling in that time, and yeah, lots of journaling and also other writing, but mainly journaling. So for me, the writing was really my lifesaver. So whatever it is that you can do that helps you connect to yourself and to your inner heart and to open that door again to your magic, because I think that's what we're lacking. And this is why we get lost in some other space that's not really us. Whatever you can do to connect with your inner self again, it may be gardening, cooking, baking, I don't know, whatever it is, go to that space. Go and find yourself again, create silence. And there's always help. There's always help available to each one of us, right?
And like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, how you are found within the pages of this book as the author. Your story is baked into the story here. I think your story can not just help just adults listening, but build a foundation for children to understand through your characters the message you're trying to send through a children's book to not only help kids, but help families. I love that you're using your story through a children's book to help many people.
Thank you.
That's outstanding from me as a reader and as a fan of what you're doing. Is you're able to take something that hurt in the moment, and now it helps. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Again, for our listeners, you opened with this for our German listeners, and again, I can tell they probably rewound that beginning many, many times. To our listeners in Germany, what kind of words of encouragement would you have for them today, just around what we've talked about, and just to kind of give them a message of hope as well?
Germany is close to my heart. I mean, I was born there. I grew up there. I love Germany. And I wish for you in Germany to see the beauty of your country. Germany has so much beauty. The landscapes, the villages, the castles, the hills, the mountains. And Germany holds so much richness in culture, in food, music, in opera, ballet, dance, and security. Feel that in your hearts and share with each other, really, because Germany is a great place to live in. And I know things are being a bit tough at the moment, but you can do that, because if you connect with each other, again, just like the animals in my team, and help each other and talk to each other, you can do this. You totally can. Ihr schafft das.
I love it. Okay, and then one thing before we go is I would be remiss to not ask this as well. To the friends, family, your community of readers, those leaving your reviews, buying your books, listening to your audiobook, and supporting you in not just what you've written, but what's coming. What's your message to those that have been following along on the journey and read your book to their children on a regular basis? What would you like to say to those people listening? Because they're here listening to you today, celebrating you being on the podcast and all the great things that are happening, and getting a little behind the scenes of you as the author. What would you like to say to your community listening to you today?
Thank you. Thank you for being with me on that journey and supporting me. And I really hope, like, for you and I think you can, because otherwise you wouldn't be reading the book, but feel the joy that's in the book. Feel the joy that I've poured joy into this book, and a lot of other things too, but feel it and feel your heart opening. Thank you.
Awesome. So we will have links to everything we've talked about in the show notes. I would really encourage everyone listening to please go over and support this amazing book and the story behind the book. Purchase this book for your children. If you don't have children at home, gift it to someone. Gift the audiobook, gift a copy of the book to a friends or family. Maybe someone's having a newborn coming up soon. What a great gift that you can offer to a family, and give this gift of a great story that brings some misfits together, and they have each other and they help each other. Because I think that's a great story for life and a great story that we can use for our family. So thank you so much for being part of the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for including the listener in our conversation, and looking forward to books 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, whatever's coming in the future.
Thank you,
really
Jake.
Supporting you, and really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and that was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Jumping here at the very end, I want to thank you for coming. We have listeners around the world, and I got to tell you, as a podcaster, it is so great to hear back from the people who listen to the show. Now, you are still here. The podcast's over. Like, we're sweeping up and putting the chairs away. You're still here. So, hi. I would love to talk to you. No, I really, really would. I would love to hear your voice. I would love to hear from you through email. You can do all that at livingthenextchapter.com. I say it fast because I love it. Living the Next Chapter. It's the name of the podcast. .com. How's that for easy? Right? So come on over there and let's have a conversation. You can set up time in my calendar. You can, air quote here, book time in my calendar, book next chapter. Let's have a conversation. Thanks for being here. See you on the next one. Cheers.